Okay, you guys, in like a minute and a half, I'm about to lose my shit. I'm serious. I'm about to call in Lori Dorfman, and my heart is beating so fast. I can't even, I'm trying to do meditation. I'm like breathing. I'm like, doing this because she's one of my oldest, dearest friends, and I haven't seen her in forever, and I can't wait for you guys to experience her. So I just want you to know, if I lose my cool, I have a tissue. If I lose my cool, bear with me. I'm calling her in. Okay. Calling in Lori. The request. I'm like so excited.
Hi.
Hi. I just started and I was like, you guys, in like 2 minutes, I'm about to lose my shit.
Why? Why?
Because I'm so excited to see your face.
Yay! I'm so excited to see your face. Let me see your burgundy. I don't see
Oh,
it.
I know, it's underneath. So it's really cold here. We're getting like 90 inches of snow. So
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm
So,
cold too, but that's because I'm always cold.
oh my God, Lori, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. You
Yeah,
know,
good.
feeling good. How are you?
Good. I was just listening to your, I was saying before, is it record, album? I don't even know what to call it anymore, but I was listening to it. I was jamming out to it. It's amazing. Tomboy with Earrings. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah.
What song do you really like? Yeah,
Uh,
sorry. I had to see if my phone was charging.
oh,
It didn't work.
well, I always loved Lori, the Hurricane Avi. Like that one was like
Yeah.
always a favorite in the past. And then the Mercedes song. I like that one.
I could see you loving that song. Yeah,
Yes.
just a little automobile themed romance. It's just good
Hmm.
for the soul.
Yes. Yes. Do you still have your car?
No, I sold that car.
Oh, oh my
It
gosh.
was
So
such
many
a
good
night.
memories. Oh,
A
I've
lot of
got good
good
memories.
memories, but a lot of traumatic memories in that car. That car is a nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, our road trip was really great.
Oh, yeah. It was. The traffic wasn't, but the road trip and us being together was.
Yes.
That trip was amazing.
Yes. So everybody, Lori and I have been friends, dear friends for a long time, but we haven't really gotten a chance to, see each other or talk to each other recently. So this is a real treat. And the way that this kind of goes is that we're celebrating her as a goddess. And I actually coined you the goddess of passion and intention.
Thank you.
And I really also mentioned that I think that you are super special and a revolution in yourself. And if for anybody who knows you or gets to experience you, it's like you just within 5 seconds you're not left the same in a positive way. So this is all about celebrating you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of go into some of the messages that you shared with us on your goddess post. And I just want to talk about them a little bit deeper if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm
All right.
honored. Thank you so much for naming me those things and for including me in your work. I'm really honored.
Gosh. Yes, you are amazing. Okay. So some of the messages, I'm going to read them, but some of the messages that really, like, they're all beautiful and powerful, but that really hit home with me that I wanted to kind of go deeper on is this, that you remind us that you constantly have to move through discomfort in order to bring your work to life, like your creations to life.
Yeah.
And if you are feeling really uncomfortable in the midst of pursuing your project, then you're on the right path and you need to keep going.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, and this one is my favorite, you have to allow others to be resistant to your work at first, but feel confident that they'll arrive in their own time.
Yeah. Pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of explain that, like give us a little insight, and especially because you just obviously launched, Tomboy with Earrings, and I'm sure it was a huge labor of love and passion and all kinds of things. So give us some deets.
Well, I guess we could start with discomfort as being such an essential part of the process. And whether you think of yourself or anyone thinks of themselves as an artist or not, it's all about process. Whatever you're doing, it's a process. If you're renovating a house, it's a process. You're starting a business, it's a process. You're working on a project as an artist, it's a process. So there's process is a word that has such a vast and kind of unmeasurable meaning. So when I say process, I mean all of that. All of that really hard to define stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you really can't get into the work without being really uncomfortable, whatever it is that you're doing. And I guess by discomfort, we could call it like vulnerability. But vulnerability is a term that's like used all the time. It's like part of our everyday conversation. We're comfortable with the word vulnerability in our conversations, but we're not so comfortable with the way vulnerability actually feels when we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really where the gold and the treasure just lies.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's a relationship between two people, it could be. But when you're doing your life's work, the depth of vulnerability is so extreme, I find, no matter what you're doing. And that's how you know you're on your way. Like, that's how you know you're doing the work and you're going somewhere, because you're experiencing that discomfort, that vulnerability. And that's why I say, if you're feeling that, keep going, keep going, keep going, because it means you're doing it right. Um, and I know as, like, I guess a performer or actor, artist, um, the the spiritual feeling, the energetic feeling of moving through discomfort is just such a part of the work that you really cannot do it unless you practice discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the process of making the record, I like to say record because it's just a cool word. And
Yeah.
it seems too short to be called an album. So I feel like record is good.
Record.
And it's a record, it's a record, and it's a musical record, and it's a record of time, and it's a record of experience. So it's just such a great word. And hopefully we can like bring back actual records. So I like it for all those reasons. But
I have a bunch of records.
Yeah, who collect records?
Yeah, I have records. You should make it into vinyl.
Oh, I know. I looked into it.
That would be so cool.
That would be amazing for all the audio files.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so how do you put yourself into a mode to practice discomfort? Because
I think
so hard.
It's so hard. I think there's kind of like two answers. Like, discomfort comes up in our everyday life in like everything we're doing. Like, we're trying to find a parking spot, we're trying to check out at the grocery store, and we get irritable, which is like one way of saying discomfort, I guess. There's an opportunity to practice right there. So in that sense, it's about awareness,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's another answer, which is, in the creative work, which is just do it. You're not going to know until, because it's all experiential when it comes to your creative work and your life's work,
Mm-hmm.
which is all creative. It's all experiential. So you just have to try it. You just have to do it. You have to trust yourself, and hopefully you're in a safe environment, whether it's energetic or physical. Hopefully it's safe for you, to try. So if you're maybe an artist doing, or a person doing your own work at home, you have to have that conversation with yourself that says, okay, just try, just try this, just try that. So, or if you're in studio, maybe you're practicing in a studio or you're taking a class, okay, just try, like be present in that moment that you've never been in before. And just try. Say, I've never been in this moment before, but I'm going to try. So that kind of pep talk with yourself is really important. What you say when the resistance comes up. So the resistance comes up and you can get really angry and shut down. Or you can go, okay, stop. Let me just see what happens. Let me just see what happens. And that's something I find myself, because I talk to myself while I'm working constantly. So I always find myself saying, okay, let me just see what happens. Or let me save it, because I work a lot on the computer. Let me save and then make a choice. If I don't like it, I can go back. So giving yourself that room to make choices, but then also make other choices. So flexibility and fluidity and open-mindedness is so important. Recognize that resistance and then learn to have a pep talk with yourself that says, I'm just going to try it. Let's just see what happens. And I always say to myself, okay, I'm getting there. That's just like something I always say, okay, getting there. Okay, I'm getting there. Because whatever it is you're doing, it's probably a long process, So the pep talk that says, there, helps you keep moving, because it's all uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's so interesting because so I've been doing several of these goddess lives, and all of the creative goddesses also the same thing. Like they're all like, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. You have to do it.
Just put yourself out
because it's true. And that, and that goes back to what you mentioned earlier about giving people around you the space to discover what it is you're doing. Giving people a chance to go, oh, that's different for you, because maybe you want to do something totally different than you've ever done before, and giving them that space. But you have ownership over yourself that says, I'm going to do this. People might think it's weird, or people might not understand at first, but they will understand, or I'll change my mind and I'm going to do something else. And no one's going to give you permission. No one's going to give you permission to do what you want, because people tend to like us as we are, and people tend to like us in the familiar state that we are. They want us to change and grow, but they don't really want us to change and grow in a way that makes them uncomfortable, which is just human nature. It's okay. Like, we can accept our humanity and we can work through it together. But no one's going to give you permission, most likely, to do that thing, unless you're really lucky, to do that thing that you really, really want to do. You have to give yourself permission to do it, and then trust everyone around you that they're gonna get it.
or not.
And if they don't, then they don't. Or not. And if they don't, then they don't. And that's okay. And that's okay. And you don't have to hold them to a ridiculous standard. Depending on your relationship with them. Maybe it's a conversation. It depends on your relationship. But yeah, just do it, because you have to give yourself permission. No one is going to give you permission.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we've also been talking about on these that I think has really sit with me well, is that just last year, like, so many things happened last year, right? How it really did change us as a collective in a community. And I think it really put us into community vibes, and how can we support each other and pay attention and be in the moment, like, how can we really just kind of be in the moment and pay attention to what other people are doing and dive in and give them space and, like, show me. show me. Yeah. And if I'm not into it, you know what? There's a million other people that are showing up that I can resonate with or not. But I feel like it's just become this really supportive, collaborative space that I'm really excited about.
I literally could not agree more. I've seen myself change during the pandemic. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the whole record was done during the pandemic shutdown. I've seen myself take new classes. I'm studying 2 languages. Um, I
Wow.
know I've seen people, friends, people that I'm really close with, people who I just kind of see on Instagram and stuff, doing things that I'm like, oh my gosh, you're doing that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the pandemic obviously stripped down our day to day life. You know, it stripped things away, it stripped things down and left us extremely uncomfortable, you know, and kind of like flailing. And then this reset. And I know that I'm saying that from a privileged place because I was lucky enough to have a somewhat positive, I could steer my journey in a kind of positive direction despite the chaos and despite the pain and confusion. And I'm very grateful. And I recognize the privilege in that. Um, but it did give so many people the opportunity to go, well, what the heck do I really want in this life? Because this is messed up and this is messed up and all this is messed up. And everyone did collectively experience that culture shock
Mm-hmm.
together. And you saw that in the uprisings, you see that in people's choices and what they're doing over the last 6-8 months, the creative work that we've seen, the interesting unique choices that people make and how they get through day-to-day life but still pursuing what drives them, what makes them happy. So I do agree with you so much in the sense of community and the sense of cheerleading. Like, oh, you're doing that now? Good for you. You do that now.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. You know, it's kind of like I was in this kind of workshop yesterday, and one of the coaches said, we're kind of just like back at the beginning. And that's just where we are. We're just back at the beginning, back to basics or back to the beginning or starting all over again. And that really resonated with me. And I think it's a good thing because we need a lot of change as a community. And I know here in LA, you know, it's changed drastically, the attitude and the attitudes and the way people are living. And I know that was really necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that continues too.
Oh, I really think it will. I think that for the most part, and I do recognize that this is who I choose to surround myself with, but for the most part, there was it was an uprising of what can I do to pay attention, recognize myself, my health, and support those around me, or or this like in retreat, it's like people either
Yes.
rose up or they retreated, and I
Yeah.
feel like the people that retreated are starting to now kind of come out of their shell, and I think that's really good because it couldn't last forever. I mean, when everybody around you is rising up, you have to kind of make a choice. And so I do think that there's definitely some positives, especially for the community that I'm in and the people that I'm around, and I really am um, excited because I think this is bringing awareness to being pro-immune and really looking at your mental health and your physical health and how to kind of embody like that moment of I need to take care of myself to prevent something from happening in the future. And I've seen a lot of people just kind of go more inward as far as how can I look at keeping my brain and my body and being pro-immune and being creative in the process and doing things that I love.
Yes. I totally agree with you that there's this total awareness
Mm-hmm.
of what each of us need to do to take care of ourselves, and also more flexibility in in judgments that we previously held toward people, places, or things, or anything, and just being so much more open and fluid with what people need from us, what we need from them, you know, and just so much more acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree also with what you're saying in terms of the ebbs and flows and like the kind of rising and falling and the waves of the phases, like the phases, because there have been phases of retreat, I know, just within each of us, and then phases of kind of expansion and retreat. Like this whole last year has been like a microcosm of an entire lifetime.
Yes.
It's like we lived a whole lifetime in 1 year.
Yeah.
So it was like you could really see the timeline of phases,
Mm-hmm.
of ups and downs, because that day-to-day life was stripped away. So you're really not kind of like numbed by, well, you're not numbed by anything, but of course, I'm sure we all experienced numbness,
Yeah.
you know, during the last year. But yeah.
Or emotions we just didn't know how to deal with, but we were forced to deal with. And
Yeah.
or relationships. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
the big one that I saw was a lot of
Yeah.
relationships, whether they were partners or friendships or, you know, family, things got stirred up. And I don't, I think in some way that was a good thing. I mean, you know, like it was kind of like it's now time to face what needs to be faced, and hopefully it ended up in a positive, you know, direction. But especially at work, like so the other business that I work with, people was really interesting when people came back to, let's say, a storefront. It was interesting to see how everybody was changed, you know, like people that were super hyper focused like on their career on their career, and they came back kind of like, you know, I don't, this isn't like I'm now in a work to live but not a live to work. And then people were the opposite, that were just kind of so as far as their commitment to the career, came back and they were like full on, let's go. And I thought that was so interesting, because it was like you had to just like accept and get to know and understand where everybody's at now, and know that it could change next week. You know, and so that was a really lesson for me, and you know, at that business, and also with helping clients, that you know, it's now not just a health game. It's and it really never should have been in the first place. But it's all mindset. Like your mindset is the number one thing, like the gratitude to yourself, where your head's at, how you're accepting and reacting and responding to people and stress and situations is the most important piece of the puzzle for healing. And I think that we need to understand that. And like, if you really want to be, like I was saying, pro-immune, you got to start there.
I agree. It starts in the mind. It really starts in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And having a daily practice that supports that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means, you know, whatever that means.
What's yours?
I mean, I I wake up, I make coffee immediately, and then had to let Lincoln out. Those are like the first, and feed Lincoln. He demands to be fed the second I open my eyes. So those are like the first things. I tend to do morning pages in the morning, which is like a free write for 3 pages. You just put the pen on the paper and just your hand just goes. And I like to do it as soon as I can to waking up, because you just see whatever is there that has been processed, that has been marinating while you were sleeping, and it all just comes out with this, I wouldn't call it clarity, but ease.
Ooh, I like that.
And then, yeah, it's crazy. And then I had just gone through Deepak Chopra's 21-day meditation. So for the last month, that's been on the morning routine. I pretty much do that right away too. And then I do a lot of facial stuff, like skincare stuff, which takes me like 45 minutes. So
me too.
That's just the way it goes, people. I go to the bathroom, I do my whole thing, and
it's
then
self-care.
It's self-care.
Like that's like my ritual.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. And then I walk Lincoln, and then I see what if I can work that day on whatever the project is, or if I need to just rest. And that's a really important point. You know, am I working today? Am I resting today? That's my personal, like, kind of day-to-day question / routine, because I need a structure, but I also need not too much structure. So hopefully if I'm working on something, then I'll get, do it. I usually work here at home. So, or if I'm resting, then I'll just be out on the terrace with the plants. I'm like really into plants right now. That was one of my COVID activities.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love to cook. I love to be in the kitchen. So that's always a really big part of my day-to-day routine.
Yeah. So for I'm going to totally try that. Like just waking, because I'd like wake up and do a gratitude practice, but I'm going to try and just like free flow, right? That sounds amazing.
Do it. Yeah, 3 pages. You got to keep
Yeah.
writing for 3 pages.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
let's see. But as you were saying that about just, am I going to work today or am I going to rest today?
Yeah.
That kind of hit with me because we're in the new moon. It's like I'm trying to do these on the different moon cycles, and it's the new moon of Pisces, which, Pisces. So that I was feeling extremely tired, and I was like, why? Like I never sleep in. I'm up at 5 o'clock. My cat, who actually looks like Paris, which is really funny, but she's like, yeah, it's 4:30 in the morning, and she's like, what up? You're not, and you need to be. Yeah. So I always get up really early, and I'm fine with that because then I can do all my morning stuff. But this morning I was just like feeling so just like I just need to rest, and that's not normal. And then I realized, oh, it's the new moon in Pisces, which kind of is like this just kind of really peaceful, restful, set intentions, but just chill vibe. So
we need it.
yeah.
We need it. It's, those phases are so important.
Yes.
And creating the space to honor what our body needs is really crucial, because I have found that pushing is not going to work for me. Like, no. I think a lot about, of course, mental health and sustainability and what is sustainable, because I know with the work I do, there's always a lot of emotional risk. There's a lot of emotional potential damage. And I don't want to have that.
No. And that causes stress, and we can't be having stress. That's the number.
And there's enough stress. There's enough stress. We have enough stress.
No. Yeah.
So, so honoring that rest when you need it. And then that way when you work, you can really work. And then you can recognize, okay, I need to rest now. And you can recognize, okay, I'm ready to work now.
Yeah. So tell me about just about being brave, like I know we kind of went over this, but I feel like just identifying the word bravery, that is definitely something that I think of when I think of you, and always have. And also just, it's almost like you have this this aura and energy of bravery and a safe it's almost like you wrap a safe container around people, and that's something that I always remembered about you, that I really cherished. And I think it's kind of in line with just kind of like it's almost like it's a very, and say this loving, because we all have masculine and female energies, but it's a very masculine energy of like wrapping the safeness and security around others. And I think that doing that, like if you hug Lori, it's tight and you feel so safe, like you feel like you were just wrapped in safety and bravery, and like everything's gonna be fine, and love, and so I can't wait till I can get a Lori hug again someday, but But my point with that is that that is a very special gift of, and a lot of people don't have that. And I think that it goes hand in hand with being brave is kind of my point, is a long circle around. But like being able to make other people safe takes a lot of inner confidence and inner bravery that you feel like you can put yourself out there for others. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the beautiful words that you used to describe me. I'm so honored. And we have the best hugs. I'm definitely known for my hugs. That's true. That's because so much, I had so, while you were saying that, I know safety is like crucial for me. And it's very high priority for me that the people who are close to me feel safe. I like to make people feel safe. It's just so important to me. I think it goes to something in my childhood where that really wasn't given to me. You know, and that is so painful. And I think the pain of knowing that kind of isolation and lack of spiritual, emotional, and physical safety compels me to be a safety officer. You know, and I always say safety first. You know, I drive very slow. I'm very aware of people around, who's around, what's going on. I'm very, like, if someone is crying, like, I go to them.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an accident, I literally run toward the accident. It's like a problem.
Yeah.
So, and that's the next part I kind of want to get into, which is so funny. So, and I take pride in all of that, and I honor all of that, and I do feel that is a special gift. And, you know, I love to love people, and I love to make people safe, and I love to comfort people. And I know that I have the ability to seriously be there and supportive.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have that. So but it's so interesting because what I feel in terms of what bravery means to me in the artistic work, you actually have to abandon like all of that. Because all of those things really require putting everyone else first and putting everything else first and thinking constantly about other people's needs and situational needs and environmental needs, whatever is needed beside you. And so you kind of need a different kind of bravery. You kind of have to love yourself the way you love everyone else. And you kind of have to switch that gear around and honor the alone time with you, where now you are giving everything to you. Ultimately, hopefully it's in service, you know, for the world. But in that moment of process, you kind of have to disengage with all of what I consider like more maternal aspects of yourself as a woman, and get into like, yeah, what I do feel like is a little bit, this part is what I feel like is kind of a more masculine energy. It's like the fire of your own self and creativity and passion for your work. That requires like a totally different bravery within your body, you know, within your energetic sphere.
Right.
So it's so interesting because it's like, how I can sum it all up is to say what you described and what I feel is required for the creative work are two sides of the same coin, but they're very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I learned to give a lot of that, which you described, back to myself in the times when I'm really like just deep in the work. And I feel that every woman has to do that. You know, and that's kind of the much bigger message, which is that women have to kind of disengage from the expectations of the relationships around them, because that's like front and center for us, in order to get into the dirt of their work, because it's dirty, dirty, dirty work, you know?
Yeah, this I'm part of this beautiful container, and the coach, she does a wonderful job, and that's kind of where I was pulling from. She does a
Mm.
wonderful job of kind of helping women to understand how to see the masculine and the feminine energies in themselves, and how to integrate and respect the two together. And that's kind of how she says, she's like, okay, like think about the masculine in within ourselves as this like bowl, like a hard, like a, you know, a hard surface bowl, and the
Mm.
feminine is the fluidity
Mm.
inside. And so the
Mm.
feminine is free flowing and wants to just kind of go and nurture and care, and the masculine holds in with the safety and the security, but they
Mm.
need to work together
Yeah.
to be the container, you know, like
Yeah.
the masculine needs to hold the free flowing, and the free flowing needs to be held to truly inspire creativity and, you
Mm.
know, that positive mindset and that growth mindset, because it works together. And so that's kind of how I think I'm hearing what you're saying, is that you're using you kind of, you're putting your creativity inside but holding it together, and I think that's really
Mm.
cool, you know.
Yeah. You do have to find a way to, yeah, give however you need to think of those two spaces, or the space
Mm-hmm.
of chaos and safety existing together. You need to
Mm-hmm.
just find a way to visualize that and experience it so that it's working for you, because you do definitely need both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've really been exploring with my group, that I coach for, um, my goddesses. Like I've been exploring with them the actual, you know, goddess in every woman, and really looking at female archetypes and past goddesses and what
Mhm.
lessons we can actually learn from them. Because, you know, the Greek goddesses and the Roman goddesses, they were created for a reason. I mean, there were lessons there that got picked apart and watered down. And if you really hold them back up and look at truly what they like represented, and then you blend that with the female archetypes and the feminine, the divine feminine and masculine, I've kind of put that all together as part of my coaching program, because I think that to truly be
Mhm.
healthy in your mind and your gut and your, you know, you have to understand, the foundation and core of how you who you are and how you can show up, you know, because if you
Mhm.
don't get that together, you're constantly going to be stressed. And a lot of women, because they don't
Mhm.
speak their truth, hold stress and have, you know, thyroid issues, or a lot of emotional physical pain that's held in their bodies. And so I feel like that's such a big part of the process of healing. Even if you're like, oh, I just, you know, I'm constipated. And it's like, no, girl, you're constipated because you need to eliminate out of both ends. you know, you know, everything comes down to how we absorb and digest mentally and physically, like what we put in our brains, what we put in our gut. Like it's not just one thing. And so I'm really trying to just go deeper on this exploration. That's why I love doing these goddess posts and goddess lives, and learning from other people around us that are doing beautiful work and beautiful things. And then how can we take that and just, use it and become, you know, get back into, hi ladies, we're going to be saging, we're going to turn into sages, we're not going to be aging, we're going to, you know, we're going to be elders, and really just kind of explore that to heal.
Yeah. I mean, healing is so important because, and I know in the artistic world, it's kind of taboo, because people feel like if you heal, you won't have access to the same juice, I guess you could say. So the suffering is kind of like a badge of honor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a huge toxic, horrible problem that's, you know, being dismantled. But I have found that healing and having access to these different kind of archetypal energies that you're describing, having access to visit those depending on what you need, I mean, your whole world expands times 1,000, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
times 1,000, you know, and as humans, we're really meant to be happy, and we're really meant to be together. We're really meant to be social and joyful and healthy and happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think humans were designed to be suffering and alone. So healing is just so essential, and healing brings you into the present moment, instead of the past or what could be the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all just here and now. And I know artistically in the work, it's all about the present moment, almost like nothing else really exists, especially in acting work. It's like almost like tunnel vision. And something else I wanted to say too about bravery and about femininity and about womanhood and about our nature as women is women kind of like experience 100 things a moment because of the way that our brains are kind of always aware what's going on, and we have like 10 tabs open, and each of those tabs is like taking in information that's sensory, that's emotional, that's physical. We're predicting the future, you know, all of this happens within 1 second of every woman, every day, all day for our entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So, and those things we're told make us like weak. You're to this, to that, to this, to that. Just shh, you know? But those are the things that actually make us so fucking strong. Our level of experience every moment of every day is, you know, and when we bring into our life's work without apology, without excuse, like, oh, I'm doing, you know, without preempting, with just serving. You know, it's like, you know, it's like an earthquake. It's like an explosion. So. Oh no, you're frozen. Can you see, do you see me?
Kind of fuzzy.
Okay, there you are.
And I'm glad you brought
Okay.
the um, creative or in their like creative power. And so that's really interesting. And I think that that might be something to explore of like, how do we, like you said, come into the experience and this is what I'm going to create because of this, but then I'm not going to absorb it. I'm going to put it here and move on. Right?
Yeah. Hopefully there's a practice there to support that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also like to have you at the end of these, the goddesses give me a final message that you want everybody to take away. And then what I do is take these messages and then I craft them into goddess journal prompts for people.
I love it.
Yes. So what would be, I mean, we've talked about so many gems here, but what would be like your goddess message?
I mean, my goddess message is do the work that you're compelled to do but afraid to do. What is that, you know, for you? You really want to do it. You really want to do it, and you're really afraid to do it, because that thing that you really want to do, that you're really afraid to do, is the thing that you have to do.
Yes. The reason that you don't want to is the reason that you must.
Yes.
So true.
Because that thing is gonna call you to be extremely vulnerable, extremely uncomfortable. It's gonna make people around you question you. But that's the thing that has the most value for everybody. It serves you, it serves soul, and it serves the world. Because ultimately what that thing is turns out to be our service.
Yeah.
And our service is the point. Jamie. Can oh, okay. I can hear you now. Okay, good. Yay. Yes. It was amazing talking to you, and I I love you and I miss you, and I hope we can do this again. I can hear you in and out.